professor Panksepp, võib-olla räägime natuke nüüd eesti keeles ka.
Okei, räägime eesti keeles, jah.
Rääkige, kuidas te üldse siia Ameerikasse tulite ja millal te Eestist ära läksite ja kuidas?
Perekond oli Saksamaal umbes 5 aastat. Ma olin 1 aasta vana, kui Eestist põgenesime ja läksime Poolasse, siis oleme Põhja-Saksamaal 5 aastat, kui nad pommitasid Hamburgis. Me olime Hamburgis pommitamise ajal. Toda ma ei mäleta, aga küll ma mäletan, kui ma olin 3 aastat vana. Ta oli sõja lõpul ja ma mäletan, mängisin sõda tankidega ja mis oli jäetud sinna. Ja siis, kui olin 6 aastat vana, siis Oldenburgist Bremenhaveni ja Bremenhavenist New Yorki. Ja laev võttis 10 päeva ja oli stormiline ja paljud olid haiged. Ja kui New Yorki saime, siis igal immigrantil pidi olema juba töökoht ja kui sõpru või onusi või ante ei olnud seal, siis keegi leiab sulle 9 aastaks tööd ja isal ja emal oli töö Delaware'is, üks väike linn Bethel, mis on nüüd Ameerika Registry of Historic Places.
Ajalooliste kohtade nimekirjas.
See oli ligi Chesapeake Bay'le ja nad töötasid seal 1 aastat ja siis tahtis, kus Eesti seltskond on ja eestlasi elasid Torontos ja New Yorgis aga väiksem linn oli Lakewood kesk New Jersey's ja nad läksid sinna elama ja töötasid see harilikku tööd, mis immigrantid saavad ja ma läksin esimest korda inglise kooli Bethelis, kus oli väike linn Bethel, mis oli 1 tuba kooli maja. Ta oli väga huvitav. Esimene klass oli 1 row ja teine klass, teine row ja siis said hästi istuda seal ja kuulda inglise keelt. Ja muidugi mulle tuli inglise keel selgemaks kui eesti keel. Varsti Eesti koolis kunagi ei käinud. Ja küll vanemad õpetasid eesti keelt lugema, aga peaaegu kõik minu lugemine tuli inglise keeles. Ja läksin läbi algkooli ja keskkooli ja gümnaasiumi Lakewoodis ja siis tahtsin arhitekt olla ja läksin Pittsburghi, kus peaaegu hakkasin arhitektu õppimist, aga ei huvitanud ja siis läksin electrical engineering. Ma olin University Pittsburghis ja suur linn ja tolle pealt olin enda peal elamine. Lõpetasin, ma olin õnnelik selle jaoks, et mu gümnaasiumikraadid olid nii head, et ma ei peanud maksma ülikooli eest. Of course, pead maksma elu eest ja sööki eest ja siis ma alati töötasin natuke. Ja viimased 2 aastat ma töötasin hullumajas, kus olin night orderly. Õhtu tuled sisse ja abitad inimesed magama minna ja mõnikord pidid ka panema restraintidele. Ja mul tuli väga suur huvi, mis juhtub ja inimese ajuga, kui nad saavad psychiatric disorderid ja tahtsin...
Psühhiaatrilised haigused siis?
Jaa, täpselt ja tahtsin tolle alale minna, aga mul electrical engineering ja siis biochemistry, mul ei olnud prerequisiteid minna.
Eeltingimusi täidetud siis, et olid teised teadused?
Siis läksin University Massachusetts graduate work ja algasin clinical psychology.
Kliiniline psühholoogia.
Ja aga too ei huvitanud ka, aga esimene placement seal oli Veteran Administration Hospital, kutsusid siin VA traineeship, Veteran Administration traineeship, siis olin haigemajas ja seal võin teha, mida ma tahtsin ja siis läksin electroencephalography laboratory, kus inimestel on epilepsy ja õppisid toda tegema ja see mees, kes tolle stationi chief oli, Arnold Trehub, tal endal oli laboratory seal taga, kus ta rottidega tegi enda teaduslikku tööd ja tal oli huvi, kuidas vaatamine läheb ajusse ja ta näitis, et kui on flickering light, stroboscopic light, mis tuleb peale, siis ajus saad toda signaali mõõta ükskõik, kus aju otsas sa olid. Natuke saab tunda, too tähendab, et aju on täitsa interconnected ja Arnold Trehub küsis minu käest, no Panksepp, mida sa tahad teha ja ma ütlesin, et mul on huvi emotsiooni paremalt tunda ja kuidas seda saab õppida ja ta ütles, et no mul ei ole selle peal palju huvi, aga tee, kui huvi on, siis tee, meil on siin laboratory ja
That was the University of Massachusetts.
See on University of Massachusetts, aga see esimene aasta oli see haigemajas Northampton Veterans Administration Hospital ja seal ma õppisin juba, kuidas seda ajutööd teha ja peale toda ma ei vaatan tagasi. Esimene eksperiment oli nii huvitav ja siis, kui too aasta oli lõppenud, siis ma jätsin clinical psychology siiapoole ja hakkasin õppima, kuidas aju saada tunda.
Yeah. But your work in science has been in English, so I think we can continue in English.
Oh, yes.
Now we know that you can speak Estonian well. So you went to University of Massachusetts then, that you graduated then as a already clinical psychologist.
Ei, oli physiological psychology.
Okay.
Ja ma jätsin se
But
clinical.
let's now we can do it in English.
I dropped the psychology behind, but let me just say that
Right.
ever since I was 18, 19 years old, being Estonian, never had Estonian education. I never lived in a town in America where there was one Estonian. So, it's been now, 50 years, more than 50 years, I'm 70 years old, where I rarely had a chance to use the Estonian language.
But you still speak it.
Of course, it's your first language, you never lose it completely, and whenever I went home, of course, I spoke Estonian with my parents, but, I could not describe my work in Estonian. And my colleagues at University of Tartu, who became interested in my work in the 1970s, 1980s, they always said, why don't you come back and give some lectures? And I said, I will come back when the country is free. And part of my reason for saying that was that I didn't want to go back to my own country and have to give my lectures in English. I thought I should speak Estonian, but I cannot speak about my work in Estonian. I would be stumbling over words repeatedly. And then in 1991, we had the singing revolution. And in November 1991, I flew to Tallinn and had my first visit there. And my colleagues picked me up in little Lada and drove to Tartu, the 200 kilometers that you know very well. And it was all dark and it was snowing, and they were still, very timid about telling me what I was going to speak about or where I was speaking. And they said, we have 2 lectures planned for you. And I said, wonderful. And I thought they were academic lectures, which I was going to give in Estonian, or English, of course. And lo and behold, we drive to Tartu. The first experience I have is remembrance it's like a Faustian experience, you know. Faust with, not Faustian,
Bargain. No.
the French writer with the almond cookie and the tea.
Oh, Proust.
Proustian, Proustian experience, thank you. And the Proustian experience was olfactory because I had spent my first winter in Tartu, you know, which was 1 year old. And of course in Tartu, the heating is done with pine wood, so the town smells like a pine burning. So I had this experience coming into town that was a Proustian experience.
So your brain had registered even at that early age.
Absolutely.
The smell.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And they hadn't quite told me what my first lecture was. And we drove to the university, and you know, we get out of the car, and it turns out to be the theater on top of
The hill, the
Vannemoine, where you have the lecture hall, museum, National Museum, and the cathedral that's been bombed out. And we were a little late, and they told me to put slippers on my feet. They didn't explain why. It was because of the parquet floors, the wood floors. And I had my slides in the linear carousel, the way they use in Europe. And they introduced me, and the hall was full of people. And it had been advertised on radio that a prodigal son was coming back. And I looked in the second row, and they were relatives. My aunts, my uncles, all the people I was supposed to visit. So I had a list of addresses that I was going to visit, but they were there. And I said to myself, they don't speak English. Most of the people here don't speak English. I have no choice but to give my lecture in Estonian, which is what I did.
On brain.
Well, I simplified. I simplified enormously, partly for them, but largely for myself, because I could not have talked about the brain in Estonian. Eesti keeles ei saaks selgeks rääkida. So I gave my talk in English. Sorry, gave my talk in Estonian, and it was a very moving experience for me. And I told them, if I cannot find eesti keeles, I will say it in English, and which is what I did. And I said, it will be simplified, you will understand. So I gave that talk in English, in Estonian, and the next morning I had a talk in the psychiatry hospital with young doctors who all knew English. So I gave my second talk in English. That was more official science.